Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we're going for a ride and a talk. That's right. Today we're talking about narcissistic people, and I think it's really interesting that when we're talking about narcissistic people, sometimes people get misconstrued, or they think someone's narcissistic but they're really not. And it's one of those, you really do have to study their behavior and their behavior in many different instances. So it can't be just like, oh, I saw them react one time in one situation or one event and I figured it out. It does take time, it does take effort, and it's watching them over a period of time to kind of realize things. Now, during this time frame, my best suggestion is tell them about you, but don't tell them all about your biggest fantasy or your biggest dream, or the things that make you afraid, or anything like that. But make sure that you're really communicating with them so that they open up as well. I just wouldn't tell them my deepest, darkest secrets. I would just tell them a few things. And so it's kind of like, if you're thinking that they're narcissistic, you might be right, but you could be completely wrong as well. So as you get to know someone, make sure that you are communicating with them and watching their reactions to things. And then afterwards, ask them about it. Like, how did you feel when so-and-so said this? Or how did you feel when that happened? And really listen to what they're saying. And it's one of those, it will give you a great insight into them. Even if they're not narcissistic, it will give you a great insight into who the person really is, which is kind of the fun part of figuring what is their personality type, and what do they like, what do they not like, what can they deal with, what can they not deal with. Can they deal with aggressive people very easily, or are they kind of intimidated by aggressive people? So it kind of gives you a deeper insight into the person. So make sure that you are really, like I said, studying and then asking them afterwards. I think that's kind of one of the big secrets, is you study it and what did you come up with, and then okay, what you're saying compared to what I saw is different, or explain it differently, and you kind of get their perspective, because they're going to give you it. People love to talk, and so they kind of love to give you their explanation of what's going on, or how they felt or thought, or whatever it is, and that kind of gives you great insight. It's one of those, if you kind of saw the situation as they were at fault at part of it, but they blamed it all on the other person, that's a red flag. But if they're kind of going, well, I can see where they're kind of coming up with this, but I don't think I'm as at fault as as they think I am, because I did this or because I did this. So it's really takes time and effort to really think about it, to really think about how are they reacting, how are they working through issues or problems, because everybody has issues and problems from time to time. It's just part of life. So how are they dealing with it? How are they working through all of this, which is kind of the fun, quirky part about it, is kind of how did they work through this? How are they going to deal with this in the future? That sort of thing, and kind of getting a deeper insight into all things them. I also ask about things that have gone on in their past, like if they're divorced, or if they lived with someone for a long period of time, why did that break up, or what did you fall in love with when you first met them, that sort of thing. Kind of getting more insight, more information about them will give you a great insight into their energy, what's going on, how are things happening. It's kind of the fun part of life, of figuring out who the person is and how they deal with life, and how they deal with what's going on. And past information, wrong gear. They will really give you some great insight into how they dealt with things in the past, who they were dealing with, kind of what's up, how are things changing or not changing for them. It's kind of an interesting insight, really. And I think that's one of the things that can give you a different perspective from the person, their past is going to kind of really dictate how they deal with things in the future. Not that people can't change, but they're going to change to a perspective, but they may not change everything about themselves. They're going to change a little bit, but they're not going to change like, oh my gosh, I'm changing completely everything. But that kind of gives you a great insight into who they are now and who they are coming up in the future. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.